Now I'm going to talk to you about how to deliver training data. So the magic I did there when I Command P or I think it's F1, this gives you all the commands you can run. And we just did the create pull request that magically did all the Git stuff. Now we're going to use the other command. And it's going to prompt you, well, what do you want to do? And I'm going to go through the explain example again. I am interested for more generate ones because explain is good. I'm going to be able to evaluate it, and that's going to be our main focus for our first release. But I worry that it doesn't know how to write RPG code. So I welcome examples of how to write RPG code, but let's talk about explain first. So it turns out Mary's already done this. If you hadn't, you could create a new thing, which will just you answer those questions. Who am I and what license am I giving this under? And it creates the file. Mary's already done this. And then and in fact, you can see what she did. Either that's this attribution that would fill out this if this was your first time. But she's already said, I'm Mary Kay, this is my email, and I'm giving away this license, right? Now the training data, that's what we're doing. So every time we do a new thing, we're going to give it some unique name. So this is going to be Julian bad code or whatever. And we think this is, well, it's not too big, but it's pretty ugly. So we're going to call it difficulty 2. Right. And then the input, we're going to say, please explain this I think it's ILE code, ILE RPG subroutine to me. Yeah. And you can formulate the question. There's some variety there. We will probably beef up exactly what prompt is going to work the best. But let's start with this. And now go get the code that's in question. So for those who aren't familiar, I'm going to take basically what we've done in the past. So I've already done this with okay, so that's not how you're going to do it. You're going to probably go get it you're going to say, go get the code from QSys, because that's where it's going to be. I'm just going to show it to you so you can see it. So here was the code. The code is basically this subroutine that does a couple moves and it's computing from today the given date in the date global. It's gonna return this JDate6 format of a Julian date that's got kind of the year encoded in it. It's not too obvious. It took Mary Kay even some time to what is going on here, right? So wouldn't it be nice if we could get the AI to explain it? So here's the code. It's sitting out there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, how would you do this? Yeah, so I'm going to add from QSys because we know it's sitting out here in QSys. So I'm going to say add from QSys. The library was city furniture and the source physical. So it actually lists the source physicals. Yeah, the Q source is the one it's in. And then which member? Well, there's only one, the Julian detail one. So so that's all you have to do. It kind of, you point to the member in question. It builds it in here. It's going to go ahead and read it. There's no really context I need. There's no header or database files it's referencing. So that's not interesting. Now, the output, this is going to be, what would you like the AI to explain that code? And so what I'm going to paste in here is what I did in the past. So I'll show it to you a little bit bigger just so you can see it. So basically it's a fixed form. It calculates the Julian date. this is the input. It's got this format, not obvious. Its output, it's a 3-byte field named JDate that's got, well, it's not 3-byte, it's 6-byte. What are you talking about? We got to fix that. Named JDate that's got 1 byte that says the century, and then it's got the 2-digit year, and then it's got the last 3 digits are the Julian number of days. And what is it? It depends on these compile time arrays to do its work. So it needs those to be there. And what are they? They're the preceding days for each month. And it also turns on, it has a side effect of turning on this indicator. If the given year is a leap year, it kind of uses that indicator. So this is a side effect of the subroutine. And it also calls another subroutine to calculate the century, given a 2-digit year. That's the input of that subroutine, and that's the output of it. And it turns on this indicator as an output, so we know if it's like the over 40, 2040 or not, or 1940. Really, 2040 is when we're going to have problems. And we even give a usage example, right? So this is how you'd use this subroutine. You'd move some date into the date field, which you could create as a 60, and then you'd get the result, right, in this JDate 6. So this is, even, so this wouldn't it be nice if Mary Kay, instead of staring at this for 4 hours or at least a half an hour to try to figure this out, could just ask the question and get this output? Well, if we wanted to be able to do that, that's exactly what we said. I pasted, I typed in this is what I would like the LLM to give an answer. So once I've filled in, this is the input source, this is the prompt I'm going to ask the AI, and this is the response I'd like to get. Maybe I'll be a little more explicit here in my thing and give an example of how to use it. And maybe I'll say some more like details of input, output, and side effects, right? We saw the side effects on that indicator, right? Okay. Now I add the training data. What did it do? You saw I filled out a form, and all this stuff here, this Julian bad data directory, created this. This came from the name I gave it. Here's the input source, which you've seen. Here's the prompt. Go away. Here's the prompt I gave it to ask the question. I said it was difficulty 2, and this was the explanation I wanted. So all that stuff got generated, and now I can just go ahead, like I said, and run the command, create pull request, and it's going to gather it all, create a pull request, and end up with something that I can see with that. And then we can have a bit of a conversation. I'm going to show you kind of what pull requests look like. How are we doing for time? So what do I see? Like I said, this is the repo. I've given you all access to it. Okay. Why? Okay, so let me go to the repo here. Looks like something's on. So here's the repo. Now we're looking at the exact same stuff, right? And I will get something called a pull request. So like I said, we've got, I've been going back and forth with programmers.io. It's giving me tons of code. They are like, you'll see they're giving me a bunch of source, and we're kind of going back and forth. I wanted better explanation of the source. So I said, can you, you're just telling me, you were just telling me that the file is an input-output file. I wanted to get actually how the file is being used, and then he did all of that for me. And so we're kind of going back, and now that he is give me a much nicer explanation. I kind of review that and say, oh yeah, this is much more intuitive to me. The files being used to retrieve flights and display them on a subfile screen. That's much more useful than before. You just said the file fetches data from a file and updates the data. Like, I mean, I could tell that just by looking at the spec. This is what I want it to tell me, right? So now that he's done all that good work, I'm going to say, go ahead and merge it. And when I do this, all of a sudden the rest of you can pull and you can get the fact that programmers.io has added a whole bunch more explain cases. So here's programmers.io, and look at, they've got a whole bunch more examples they put in here with all that great detail. So you can see they've got their context. They're providing me kind of like at a whole module level, which is okay, but I would prefer the subroutine and procedure level. I think that's kind of more common and clear, but that works too. And yeah, the rest of these, this is all mid-range, is providing me a bunch of test cases that are showing me if I have okay, so if I have I guess I could, this code here that returns 1, what test case should be generated? And I guess that was in the previous commit. So, and then he says, if that's the code, we've had our conversation where about how to improve that. And yeah, this is the test he's going to provide that says, check if this number is equal to the output parameter here. So, and now that I'm happy with what he's done here, I can approve it. I'll approve his code, and then I can go ahead and merge it. And now we can get someone's contribution from mid-range. So that's how we're all going to contribute to get good training data for this AI. I have gone on for quite a bit, and I want to leave any time for questions.